All right, let's talk about this for a bit. And joining me now is Reginald Kazutu, a capital economist at Zamara. Reginald, thank you so much for speaking to us. So, in your view, what is really ailing this Mitumba sector in Kenya?
I don't think the Mitumba sector itself is a problem. I think that the major problem we have is an fragmented government policy around this sector, and it's normally fragmented government policy because the government normally treats symptoms and does not treat the problems. The Mitumba sector is a symptom of a bigger problem. So banning or trying to disable it, and this banning has not just happened or suspending happened just now. It has been something that they kept on trying and testing the markets. And the symptom that the government is trying to treat here is to say, you know, we should have good clothing, we should not have second-hand clothing. But the Mitumba sector is just a sign or a symptom of the underlying economic condition of the country, of the demographics of the country, that people cannot afford the first-hand clothes. People cannot afford new clothing directly, and that's why this market is thriving and creating employment. So I don't think the sector has a problem. The problem actually comes from government policy trying to destroy a sector that is there without providing alternatives which cost pretty much the same as what the Mitumba sector is currently providing to the market.
So now, which way forward from here? Because the traders are saying, and also, should we even be talking about imported clothing, or should we now establish our own, like EPZ, make sure that it can supply the entire country? Isn't that a better approach?
Yes, that would be the better approach. Because you see, the government is trying to ban Mitumba to force people to buy from what is produced locally in the EPZ. But our EPZs have drastic problems. Our EPZs have
Wachana now, my correspondents.
our
Just give
EPZ
me the stories.
have high costs of input that come into them, which make their which make the cost of the things that come from the EPZ not affordable to majority of Kenyans. So if you look at the demographics of Kenya, if you look at the amount of people that actually earn over 100,000, they are less than 3% of the population of those who are formally employed. Majority 50% to 60%, both formal and informally employed people, earn less than 15,000. So you find Mitumba becomes very attractive to them. And the problem of our garment sector is not that we don't have the manufacturing capacity to actually manufacture a lot of garments. We just don't have backward integration or backward linkages. So for example, we import most of our cotton for the EPZ. We don't provide already made garments to the EPZ. So we are not able to create enough employment to absorb the people that are in the Mitumba right now, because we don't have the supply chain going backwards from the EPZ. We don't have the cotton farmer, we don't have the person spinning, weaving, dyeing, and doing all those things, which is now the complete value chain that leads to the garment that is produced in EPZ. Then when you reach EPZ itself, you want to have now more of a value addition. So you realize you can easily create close to 1 million, even 2 million people in the textile sector, only if the government takes it the route of that, saying this is the problem that we need to fix, and not try to fight Mutumbas. But if they put policies in place that increase the acreage of land that we produce cotton, then we save a lot of money from importing cotton, importing inputs. If they give an environment or make loans affordable to guys in that value chain, in the spinning, weaving, and all, then you realize you create employment, at the same time also creating enough capacity for EPZ to be able to satisfy the domestic market and not just rely on the US.
All right, I'm about to show you footage of people who were speaking yesterday, and I hope that is coming up just now, because this is a conversation that is really supposed to be out there mostly and find out from them. But Reginald, before we get into that conversation by the people who are out there, are we exposing ourselves as a country? Because we've seen now that, yes, we bring in clothes from abroad, but now we've also seen that the same people who we buy from are allowed to come and trade here directly.
Again, Trevor, I'll go to element of an unfocused government policy, an unfocused government which actually does not have a direction on where they want to go. If you look at Vision 2030, the cotton sector had been selected as a key sector for poverty reduction and alleviation in the country. So what the government needs to do is put in place a policy, just like Ethiopia, and say, we may not have the capacity, you come and set up a factory here. Come and set up a weaving plant here, a spinning plant here, a dyeing plant here. We have access to the US market, which you don't have. So through AGOA, Kenya has direct access to the US market, which the Asian countries don't have. Because after the MFA agreement was closed in 1974, expired in 1974, you find they could now export directly, your China and all, but it's not duty-free. So if a Chinese company comes and sets up in Kenya and starts manufacturing garments in Kenya in bulk, they get access to the US market, they get access to the East African market, and they can also now flood the domestic market, but you have created employment, because all this will be Kenyans employed in those factories, Kenyans employed in the whole value chain. So I think instead of liberalizing, allowing already made garments to come in, the government then needs to put a policy where you say, come and manufacture the garments from here, we give you access to the US market, we give you access to the East African market, and that would be a better policy direction for the government than, again, sounding like a stuck record, trying to fight the Mitumba. Mitumba is just a symptom, but not the real problem the government needs to fix.
All right. Reginald, stay with me for a bit. Let's hear from the people who are actually affected on the ground. Let's start off in Kisumu and hear what the traders there are saying.
The second-hand clothing sector, popularly known as Mitumba, has been employing thousands of youth across the country, and it has also been attributed to cost several billions of shillings in terms of the value of importation, where in the first 6 months of 2019, the sector spent up to 11 billion shillings in terms of imports, and in the year 2018, the sector had spent about 17 billion shillings in terms of importation of clothes. But then that banned by the government in March in a bid to promote the local textile industry has had adverse effects to traders, and we spoke to some of them here in Kisumu, and these are their opinions.
Tangu Mitumba Disquiet band, mauzo imeenda chini kabisa, alafu tena kupata mzigo imekuwa ngumu zaidi. Bei ya mzigo pia imepanda, kwa hivyo hata nguo zenye tulikuwa tunapata na 300 saizi tunapata na 500. Na vile vile kwa sababu ya hali ya uchumi pia sasa mauzo imekuwa chini, tumeathirika vibaya, tuko na watoto, tuko na mambo na kodi ya nyumba tulipe, hatuwezi kabisa.
Tuko na shida kubwa. Tukipata mzigo kutoka Uganda wanatuchajia bei ya juu. Kama long saa hii wanataka kitu kama 25,000. Nyumaye tulikuwa tunapata kwa 18, 20, but saa hii wameongeza bei. Na hata Uganda pia ni shida, kwa maana watu ya Uganda hawataki sisi tuingie upande ya Uganda, wanasema Wakenya wako na corona. Sasa ni shida sana. Tuko na shida. Biashara imerudi nyuma, manguo hakuna, bei hata tukipata zingine kidogo kidogo zimetoka Nairobi, sio sawa, sio nzuri ya zamani yenye walikuwa na stock ya zamani.
As for now imebidi sisi pia tupandishe bei kiasi. Tupandishe bei ndio hiyo price ilienda juu huko. Sasa pia sisi pia tumeamua kupandisha kiasi ndio tupate ile pesa tulizichukua nazo.
Kwanza kabisa naweza sema ya kuwa quality ya nguo ambazo zimetengenezwa hapa Kenya EPZ haijakuwa nzuri. Kwa hivyo kama wanaweza imarisha quality kwanza, halafu tena bei iwe ile bei ambayo mwananchi kawaida anaweza kuafford, itakuwa sawa. Lakini zikiwa zile kama sasa hivi tuseme hizo nguo bei yao huwa kwa juu sana, hiyo ndio maana watu wana opt for second hand.
Bei yao ya kutengeneza hizi za local inakuanga juu. Sasa unapata watu bado wanarudi kwa Mitumba juu. Hizo za duka, hizo za serikali wanatengeneza bei zinakuanga juu sana. Sasa wananchi kwa raia hawezi afford. Atabidi tu akuje anunue hizo Mitumba. Jumuta kwa hata na 200 anasapata nguo. Lakini hizo za serikali unakuta nguo ni 600, 700 iko juu.
Mitumba anafeed watu wengi. Mitumba inasaidia wajani. Mitumba inasaidia vijana wenye hawana kazi. Sasa wakibanda sasa Mitumba, tutaenda wapi? Tutafanya nini? Na kazi pia hakuna Kenya. Sasa tunaomba president yetu, angalia sisi, angalia biashara ya Mitumba. Rudisha Mitumba Kenya.
Indeed, as you have heard from some of the traders, the main challenge of sourcing for locally produced textile is the cost. So it will be interesting to see what the government will be doing to juggle the ball of saving the local textile industry and also saving the Mitumba sector, which not only rakes in billions of shillings for the traders here, but also a potential employer of thousands of Kenyans across the country.
Well, thanks, Laura. That's Laura Otieno speaking to us in Kisumu and speaking to traders there as well. And joining me now is Samuel Karanja. He's the CEO for Importers and Small-Scale Traders Association. Also, Reginald Kadzutu is still with me, capital economist at Zamara. Karanja, what's really going on in this Mitumba sector region? Because the president said that there should be protocols outlined so that there's really no ban in this Mitumba importation. But somehow your traders don't seem to have it. What's the true picture? What's happening?
Good morning, Trevor. Thank you for having me. Yes, we have an issue with what is happening in the Mitumba sector, because I think the government is not coming out clear. I remember I was in one meeting, and I think the government should be very candid that they want to push the local manufacturers and they want to ban completely Mitumba. So I can't remember when the president said that they are partially doing that. But basically, from the Ministry of Trade, in a meeting that we were, it was, we want to build the local industry and we want to ban Mitumba. And I think maybe the utterances of the president was a reprieve of trying to cushion the people who are in the Mitumba industry, who I've seen you said is 2 million, but according to our statistics are 4 million. Now, the issue that we are having is that, and I said here earlier, you cannot kill a sector to build a sector. Number one, where do we get cotton in Kenya? You know, we have like 200,000 farmers who are small-scale farmers from Western Kenya, from Kisumu, from the Coast Province. The 200,000, are they the people who sell the cotton to EPZ companies and maybe Rivertex, which was in the ICU the other time, and maybe right now it's in the ward, not the HDU, because the government has pumped in some money. Where do they get the cotton? and Trevor, is good to be very candid that EPZ and plus other companies should become clear where they get the cotton. And I believe that they import that cotton, and instead of building the local farmers, because they are small-scale farmers, and for us to feed the economy, the appetite of the economy of the clothes in Kenya need more than 200,000 farmers, because we are heading to 50 million people. And so I think the government, I really don't know how some policies are being implemented, or how some policies are being formed to come to such conclusions. The Mitumba has over 4 million people, and you remember the government itself had to give incentives to the local manufacturers for the longest time possible. In the early 80s, remember Rivertex was doing very well. Today we don't have, apart from EPZ, tell me another big company that does local manufacturing. And I think what we are supposed to do is to build local capacity, because right now people had already engaged the Mitumba industry. There are people who are employed. There are over 4 million people are employed there. So when you say you are banning completely Mitumba, then you are making a very big economic mistake. Number two, when you talk about COVID-19, when you say COVID-19 is one of the reasons why you're banning Mitumba, you remember, even when you're getting Mitumba, there's what you call fumigation. So fumigation has not started with COVID-19. Fumigation has started even way before COVID-19. And so that fumigation is done. And so the Ministry of Health should come clear, because that fumigation is a way of curbing COVID-19. And also, you remember, when you are importing clothes from, let's say, China, they are bringing clothes, US, Canada, Europe, when they are bringing these clothes, when you talk about the COVID-19, the period to which that virus is staying in a cloth, you get over 21 days, that container, is in the high seas. And so that issue of saying that they are curbing COVID-19 is not truthful.
Okay, so I have a tweet here, Samuel. It's from one person called Olem Edward. He's saying that Mitumba protocols are guided by EAC standards. I am aware the ministry has recompiled the standards awaiting publication in the official gazette anytime. These demos are works of cartels who fleece ignorant traders. Have you at any time had a conversation with the Ministry of Trade? Because I was speaking to the CS, Betty Maina, and she said that it's just a matter of time before they publish it. They're having a conversation between Mitumba people to come up with the protocols, which the president himself directed. So there's essentially no ban on Mitumba right now.
Trevor, there was a gazettement on the same. And you know, in every industry, there are people who, you know, like for example, in associations, we have splitter groups. And I really don't want to bring that politics on air. But there are, let's talk about the majority, because there are people, there are like associations which are representing Mitumba. We have the Mitumba Kenya Association. Then we have other people who are also representing Mitumba. And those guidelines, they should be in consultation with whoever is in the industry, whether this is a splitter group or whether, as long as they are in that industry, they must be involved in the protocols which are supposed to be there. And even before, you remember, Trevor, it was on air and it is in the public domain that Mitumba was banned. So with the effect and the outcry from the grassroots, that's why now the Ministry of Trade went back to the drawing board and said, wait, we didn't think that this has this kind of impact in the common mwananchi. Let's go back to the drawing board. And that's why I usually say consult people, whether they are splitter groups or not. Make sure they're in the negotiating table, because if they're not in the negotiating table, they're in the menu. And so you find that there are people who are not in that negotiating table, and they must be involved in that protocol because they are the people who are in that industry. And I usually say, Trevor, the most important thing, when the government is making policies, why do you make policies in absentia of the very people who are going to be affected by the policies? And these are the people who can tell you the reality, the feel of the grassroots. They can tell you this is who we are, this is where we are. Then you can get informed decisions from that point. Because why should you say there's a ban, then you retrieve back, then you go again, you are making the protocols. The protocols were supposed to be made before they made the ban.
Okay, let's bring in what the CS for Trade, Betty Maina, said earlier on, and then we can all react to it. Listen.
What we did was imposed temporary restrictions because of the concerns and the standards in the country. The current standard prohibits importation of goods from countries that are facing pandemic. So that's a standard I also found at the ministry when I've come in. So we are just imposing the Kenya standard. But that said, several, as there've been a lot of feedback and entreaties to us, and that's something that is under consideration. And the Mitumba Association of Kenya has actually met with us and given proposals on how all the health concerns can be, can be mitigated in this regard. And that's something we have given them feedback that we're listening to and studying, and we'll get back on the same. But having said that, I think one of the things we've also realized as a country during COVID is that international supply chains have been greatly disrupted. But it has given an opportunity for Kenyan businesses to rise and to replace these international supply chains.
All right, so that was the CS for Trade, Betty Maina, speaking to me on Monday Report earlier on this Mitumba issue. Says that they've spoken to the Mitumba Association of Kenya people, and they're coming up with the protocols of ensuring that the business flow comes back. But joining me now, live from Nakuru, is Marianne Nyambura. There was a protest yesterday by the traders. Marianne, good morning. It's good to see you again. So if these traders say that they've not been involved in this conversation, and the CS says that she's spoken to the Mitumba Association of Kenya, who is fooling who here?
Well, Trevor, that is the big question here, because as you heard that the CS, Betty Maina, mentioned that they are in talks with the Mitumba Association of Kenya in regards to that. But the situation on the ground is totally different from what she mentioned. Yesterday we saw protests here in Nakuru, as well as the Gikomba market in Nairobi. But as that is also happening, the officials of the Mitumba Association say that this is a countrywide issue, and they will continue with the demonstrations, despite the fact that yesterday we saw police lob tear gas canisters to them. But this is what the Mitumba traders here in Nakuru, as well as the Gikomba market, had to say in regards to the Mitumba business.
Sisi tuko mpaka na maloni. Watu wanakimbizwa na bank, watu wanakimbizwa na societies, watu wanakimbizwa na zile idara zote ambazo zinahusu mambo na pesa. Sasa hizi venye tunaongea, watu wengine mpaka wamejinyonga, wamekufa kwa sababu hawana ajira, hawana makazi. Familia zimeweza kumaka kuachana kwa sababu ya kukosa mpaka ajira. Watu wamekosa mpaka kuwekelea mkono mkati kwa meza. As we are talking, sekta hii nimesema ya kwamba kulingana na youth ambao tuko nao nchini Kenya, tuko na 38% ya wale youth ambao hawako kazi, lakini 25% wameajiriwa na mtumba. Hii ni kumaanisha kwamba hii ni sekta ambayo imeweza kuchukua uchumi wa nchi hii ya Kenya juu sana. Jambo lingine ni kwamba sisi tukiwa kama wachuuzi wadogo tungeomba tu serikali, kwa sababu hii sekta imechukua watu wote. Ukiangalia kina mama leo hii mtumba ikiisha, utaanza kuona wamama wakianza kuvaa matambara na viraka. Utaanza kuona wazee wakivaa matambara na viraka. Tunaomba tu, kwa sababu sisi wote hatuwezi kuingia kwa duka kununua nguo ya 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, lakini hawa watu wanaweza kununua shati ya shilingi 100 na rongi ya shilingi 300. So tunaomba tu, kwa sababu hii mtumba imeshikilia mpaka wale ambao wako juu, hata wale ni ministers wetu, hata wao walianzia tu hapo ndio waweza kununua hizo suti. So tunaomba hata wao wakaweza kusikia kilio cha mnyonge cha yule mtu ambaye ako chini, ili hizi nguo ambazo ni za mtumba zisiweze kuisha.
My appeal is to my sister wa trade. You are a mother. You are a mother like me. You are a woman like me. Wacha kuwa na roho ngumu ya mawe. Wewe unaweza kusikia aje ukitoka kazini na unapata hakuna chochote kwa nyumba yako na watoto wanakungoja. Kuwa na roho ya umama. I'm sure Mr. President hana shida, wewe ndio unatukazia maisha. Na what I want to tell you madam, hii mambo si rahisi vile unafikiria. Nakuru County mtumba imeemploy 80%. Wale ambao hata walimu wa private ambao walivutwa kazi na corona, wote wamekuja kwa sekta ya mtumba. Wanakuja wananunua mitumba kwetu, wanaenda wanazungusha ndio wapate chakula yao ya kila siku. Now, what do you expect us to do if you don't want us to go back to our businesses? 80% of these people wanategemea mtumba. Tunakuomba, another appeal ni kwa Mr. President. We love you so much. And I'm sure labda ufikishi wangu ripoti. Ningeomba sana hii ripoti kufikie leo, ya kwamba sisi kama wamama tunateseka. Sisi kama wazee ambao wako area hii wanateseka. Wabeba wanateseka. You can find that mimi mwenye ninamwaga mizigo 3, nimeandika more than 10 people behind me. Kuna beba, kuna mtu wa kupiga pasi, kuna wa kuuza karatasi, kuna yule ambao umememploy. Hao wote wanapeleka chakula kwa jina yangu. Mtu mmoja. Wholesaler ameandika more than 100 people. Mtu mmoja. The government cannot employ us all in the office. So kindly, Mr. President, tusikize na tunakupenda.
Sisi kama wafanyi biashara tumejaribu kabisa ku-observe zile social guidelines. All our customers hata mkiangalia wote, they have mask. Kwa duka zetu zote tumeweka sanitizers. We are trying to observe even social distance. And in fact, hata mitumba zetu before zitoke ngambo, they always fumigated. So there is no cause for alarm according to in our business. But tunaomba tu serikali, sana sana Mheshimiwa Rais mwenye tunapenda zaidi, alipeana directive juu ya biashara yetu ifunguliwe, but mpaka wa leo hatujasaidiwa hata kidogo, and tunashindwa kwani shida iko wapi? Because minister mwenyewe juzi alisema kwa interview Citizen Live, alisema kwamba there is no ban on the importation of mitumba, it is just a temporary ban. So swali zetu ni hizi protocols zenye waliambia wa develop, kwani is it rocket science? Zinatoka juu, or how long does it take to get these protocols? Furthermore, kwani yeye mwenyewe haoni how we are suffering? Workers, wafanyikazi wanasafa, beba wanasafa, mafundi wanasafa, wholesalers wanasafa. This business has adverse effects. So maombi yetu ni kwamba tafadhali Rais, wenye uliagiza kabisa Ministry of Trade fuatilie, tafadhali fuatilie uhakikishe ya kwamba wametimiza. Hatujui kwa nini Betty Maina ana rega ana delay sijini kwa nini. So tunaomba ya kwamba kama hawezi fuata directive yako, please in your next cabinet reshuffle, tafadhali wacha aende nyumbani, kwa sababu akae bila kazi, ajue kama sisi wenye tunasikia kama hatuna kazi. Hiyo ndio maombi yetu tunaomba kwa serikali.
As you heard, that is the situation on the ground. The fact that the various traders here are actually saying that they will not relent, and they vow that they will continue to make sure that they give the CS Betty Maina as well as the national government the fact or the situation on the ground. But remember that the Mitumba trade business accounts for about 10% of the economy, and remember that over 2 million Kenyans have actually been employed directly or indirectly as the various traders there mentioned, there are those who carry the Mitumba clothes to various destinations, and they've also been affected, as well as those who work on the various clothes for sale. But that is a situation that we are waiting to see how that will change and how that will pan out. But remember again is that the national government has also been pushing to have local production of clothes in the country through the Buy Kenya, Build Kenya. So it will be interesting to see how fast the government will act on this matter in regards to the fact, remember that over 2 million Kenyans have been employed directly or indirectly in the Mitumba business.
Right. Thanks, Marianne. That's Marianne Nyambura speaking to us live from Nakuru and speaking to the traders there who've been adversely affected. Reginald Kazutu is still with me here. He's the capital economist Zamara, and also Samuel Karanja, the CEO, Importers and Small Scale Traders Association, is still with me. Sam, is there a possibility that the government is negotiating with a splinter group that is not the official group? Who speaks on behalf of the Mitumba guys? Because they say they've been speaking to the Mitumba Association of Kenya. You say they're not consulting. Are you organized enough as the Mitumba section to have a team that you know this is the head, and once this conversation is had with so and so, it will then trickle down?
Trevor, and you have heard what is happening on the ground. Let me say this, because I don't want to bring that politics. When you have an association like the Mitumba, even an association like ours can have a splitter group, and the government has the people who are in that industry, and there are people who are the spokesperson. It's a very organized association. Now, how comes that now the National Association of Mitumba has not been able to dispense the information that they had on the boardroom with the CS to its people in Nakuru, to its people in Gikomba? So who are they speaking to? And I think we have to be very candid. I heard the CS also saying that it is a temporary ban, which I think she found in the office, if I got her right. And I think it is the responsibility of the ministry, before they do a temporary ban, to see the economic effect of that industry. And you have heard one of the traders also saying that they also do fumigations even before. And so was it a directive from the Ministry of Health, or what is it? I think the government is not candid in what they want to achieve. Okay. They want to achieve something, but they are putting COVID-19 as a reason why. Okay. Because we see when you're talking about Build Kenya, Buy Kenya, Build Kenya, it is an initiative which I think it's in the heart of the ministry, and we have seen that you have been there for many meetings. And when you see the CS also said about building the capacity and how COVID-19 has made us realize that we can come to a point of building our own economy, but we do not have capacity.
Sam, hold on that thought in just a bit, because joining me on phone now, and then you'll react later on, is Honorable Lawrence Karanja, is the CAS Trade and Industrialization. That's the Chief Administrative Secretary. Karanja, thank you so much for making time for us. What is the position on Mitumba trade in Kenya?
The position is very simple. As per the standards and the regulations, whenever there is a pandemic, importation of second-hand clothes is usually suspended. But following the consultation with the importers, the Ministry of Health, Kenya Bureau of Standards, and other concerned people, we were to develop protocol on resumption of importation of the Mitumba, which has already been done. We have already developed the protocol, and we are at the tail end of having it released. And thereafter, a gazette notice will be issued, but it can set out the requirements which will be there, because we need to protect our people. That is one. But we have already, and we are at the tail end of that process. And hopefully, by then, this will be done. And then there will be now the requirements. What are the requirements? What are the requirements which the importers will meet before the importation? So that's what we are saying. We are almost at the end.
But how come, Honorable Karanja, how come you've not been able to disseminate this information to the Mitumba traders? You saw their protests yesterday, right? Why are you not speaking to them?
Sorry. Get you?
Honorable Karanja, why are you not speaking to the Mitumba traders? Because you saw they were protesting yesterday, and you say that you're in the tail end of publishing these protocols.
The truth of the matter is that they have been in consultation with the ministry. They have been calling us, and we told them that, that we have already informed them that we are about to conclude, because they knew that is late. I think as late as last week, there are some who came to my office, and we told them we are about to conclude because we were waiting for some instruments from other government agencies, Kenya Revenue Authority, Kenya Bureau of Standards, Ministry of Health, and they have already sent their comments and their recommendations. And then after that, that's what I said, as a ministry, we can now develop the final product, which we are almost done. And that's what we said, hopefully by the end of this week, we'll be done.
So when will this be published and when will the trade flows begin?
That's what I've said, before the end of this week. So that hopefully by next week, that can start.
That is publishing it, but when will they start getting their goods?
Once it is published, it's immediately. Once it is published, it's immediately.
All right. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Thank you for speaking to us. That's Honorable Lawrence Karanja, is the CAS Trade and Industrialization, saying that they've just finished up. It will be published by the end of the week, and then that means then that the trade flow will begin. We've really run out of time here, but we still have Reginald Kazutu and Samuel Karanja. I'll give them a minute each to just close up. Reginald, I'll start with you. You've heard from the CAS. It's just a matter of publishing it and then the business begins. What is your take on that? Very briefly, because I'm out of time here.
Okay, Trevor, my last or parting words is that the government needs to get focused in terms of alleviating poverty in the country. As I said, Mitumba is just a symptom of the underlying economic poverty that is in the country. On an economic perspective, if you look at which one is better for us to actually develop a capacity to manufacture our own goods, you realize in terms of the value chain that it creates, in terms of saving, in terms of importing of raw materials, but increase in exports, you realize going the formalization way of actually developing our textile industry is more beneficial to the economy and more external currency saving than Mitumba. But the problem that we have is we have a government that has no goal, or should I say a government that is a bit clueless on how to gradually do these things over a period of 4, 5, 6 years, grow the capacity of our textile industry and the whole supply chain. Don't grow it by importing cotton, but increase the acreage of cotton, increase the supply chain, give capacity for people to come and set up mills, set up spinning and all those other things. You will actually end up creating more sustainable jobs, more good quality jobs than the Mitumba market. But it can't be done in one budget cycle. You will have to spread it in a period of 4 or 5 years, and you realize that the value of Mitumba will also start decreasing as people migrate from selling Mitumba to actually working in these factories. But you cannot do it the other way around by banning Mitumba and hoping that capacity will come out miraculously from somewhere.
All right. Karanja, 30 seconds.
The bureaucracies in this country are stifling the economic growth. And I think the government should lean the consultation and talk with the right people when they are making their policies, because the right people are there and they are organized.
All right. Thank you so much for speaking to us, both of you. Samuel Karanja, CEO, Importers and Small Scale Traders Association, and Reginald Kazutu, the capital economist from Zamara. I've just received the protocol that is supposed to be published by the government here, so we will publish it later on in the day. They're saying that they will do this by Friday. There's a Ministry of Industrialization, Trade and Enterprise Development protocol for Mitumba trade. This, I assure you, we will publish at the tail end of our broadcast. Maybe not now, but the next bulletin that's coming through, because now we have it from the government and they're saying by Friday it should be out there and this will be resolved as soon as possible, right? This is why we are here. We talk about things that happen in real time. Now we have the solution to this Mitumba trade issue, right? This is where you take a quick break. When you come back, it's all about cooking tips, right? But I'm not eating. It's just reels. How unfair.